Well, welcome to another gazing monkey video, and this one's a lazy video. No climbing up mountains or staying in bothies or 20-mile hikes. I'm just out on my daily walking route here in Hereford. It takes me about half an hour, and I do it most days if the weather's good, so I just figured I'd bring my camera along and make a video about it. So first, let me explain where I am. I live in Hereford in the west of England, and the walk I'm about to do is around Bartonsham Meadows. It's just to the southeast of the city centre. It's quite a big space. It's fields, pasture, very popular with dog walkers, hikers, anyone who just wants a bit of green space. Okay, so let's have a look at our first, feature on this walk. And it's this footbridge, the so-called Canary Bridge. This is a footbridge built about 10 years ago over the River Wye. Now, the reason it's called the Canary Bridge is there used to be a very large munitions works over on the other side. And the girls there would turn yellow because of exposure to cordite and picric acid, and so they were called the Canaries. Well, the munitions works are long gone, and so are the ladies who work there, but the name lives on in this. Let's take a look this way. We'll take a look over the edge. That's quite a drop. Now, back during COVID, during the first lockdown, the kids were all off school and there was a heat wave. So they'd all sit here sunbathing on the banks of the river, but they'd also jump off this bridge for fun. So they'd jump off roughly where I am now. It's not a jump I fancy myself, it's got to be 25, 30 feet. But anyway, they seem to enjoy it. Right, let's head over the bridge. I made a video a couple of years ago where I harvested my own hazelnuts and tried to make my own Nutella. And the hazelnuts I got were from just over here. I can see the trees now. So we're almost in August now, and the hazelnuts won't quite be ripe yet, but they should still be on the bushes. So let's take a look. All right, here we go. Can I see any nuts? Yes, I can. Quite a few, actually. I'll just pull this one off. So here we go. One not yet ripe hazelnut. That's still a bit green. Give those a few weeks and they will turn brown, and providing the squirrels don't get them, should be very nice eating. They look a bit riper, but still not ready yet. Now, when I made the Nutella video, there were loads of these. Normally the squirrels get to them, and by the time they're ripe they're all gone, but for some reason a year or two ago the ground was littered with them. Yep, there's another one. 3 of them. So I'll be back in a few weeks to check on those. Anyway, that's enough hazelnut excitement. Let's head back across the bridge. All right, there's a little gap in the hedge here. Yep, this is what I'm looking for. Let's squeeze down here and get back onto the meadows. Now, these meadows are surrounded on nearly all sides by, houses and built-up areas. So they're a oasis of green in Hereford. And there's a reason for that, which is these meadows can often flood in winter. The River Wye is just over there, and what we see around us here, this can all be underwater. So I think the record flood we had was back in 2020, 2021. If I was here then, I think the water would be up to my chest. And it's this reason, this periodic flooding, which means that this land can never be used for housing. So it means it's kept free as this green zone, so I really appreciate that. Okay, here are some pine trees, and hidden among these trees is our next feature. Because one of these trees is not a tree. Okay, there it is. I'm going to zoom into this. That tree in the middle isn't a tree, that's a communications mast which is disguised as a tree. So it's got that kind of camouflage paint on its trunk on the main mast, but also it's got those fake branches and leaves. Now, the people who built the mast, I don't know if they did that as a gesture of goodwill or they did it because they were forced to by planning regulations, but I really appreciate the end result. I've got my eyes peeled here. I've seen a couple of kestrels who've been hunting on these meadows. I think one might be the parent and the other might be a fledgling, sorry. So I'll keep my eye out for those. Okay, let's move over to the next thing. And if you know your trees, you'll know just from its shape that that's an oak tree. Yep, look at that classic oak shape. Now it's late July, so there should already be acorns on these trees. They won't be ripe yet, that doesn't happen till later in the year, but they should certainly be on there. Yep, and I can see one already. In fact, I can see several. Let me show you these first. So there we go. Not yet ripe, but just your classic little acorns. But now look at this one. This is all kind of misshapen and, you know, ugly looking. That's an acorn too, but it's got a parasite living in it. There's a species of very small wasp which makes its home in acorns. It's specific to oak trees and acorns, and it causes them to have this weird shape. So you'll see this happening all over the country and probably all over Europe or the world as these things spread around. It doesn't actually affect the seed. So for all its kind of, you know, ugliness and weird shape, that is still a viable seed. Okay, let's move on from this oak tree to another one over there. And while I'm passing this pine, we might as well take a look at that. I always love the look of pines. There's just something really beautiful about them. There are the cones developing. They'll be falling off in 2 or 3 months. Okay, and here we are at our second oak of interest. And this one's a beauty. This is huge. This tree has got to be at least 200 years old, I'd say. Oak is a slow-growing tree, so it takes a long time for it to get to this size. There's a difference with this tree, though, which is it has no acorns on it, which used to baffle me. The other one has them, why not this? And then it was pointed out to me that this must be a male tree. Of course, it's only the female trees that bear nuts. Okay, we'll do a quick lap of this tree, just show you how wide this trunk is, and then we'll move on. That has got to have a diameter of, 2 meters, 6 feet. So that's been there, well, longer than most of Hereford has, and will hopefully be there another 200 years from now, but there's no guarantee of that. Now this area all used to be pasture, had cows grazing on it. They then tried to farm it for wheat as a little arable project. They stopped doing that, so I can only guess it wasn't economical. Who knows? Or maybe the periodic flooding just kills the wheat. So now it's just lying in a load of weeds at the moment. I'm not sure what the plans are here. There is talk of wildlife preservation projects on here, and maybe that's what all these weeds are about. That's going to be perfect for ground nesting birds. Now the River Wye is just in that direction, so we'll head over there. Over there in the distance you can see the spires of Hereford Cathedral. A busy place at the moment because we've got the Three Choirs Festival in town. Okay, we're back at the River Wye. Let's head down here. There's a little kind of pebble beach. So this is the Wye, one of the, I suppose you'd call it one of the major rivers in England. And it's at a very low level. It's not always this low, of course, but we've had quite a dry summer recently. So at the weekend on a day like this, this little beach area would normally be full of families picnicking, swimming and generally having a good time. Right, let's head back up. So a calm and tranquil river when the level's low, but when it floods, the water level, let's get up here, would be probably the level of my head. But that's what stops these meadows becoming houses, shops and car parks. So I've seen a couple of kestrels on here. I think one might be a fledgling and the other might be the parent. They love those electric lines over there.
They've been nesting in the tall trees over there, possibly for the last couple of years, which is very refreshing. It's not to say that they weren't nesting here before, but the food supply has really increased.
So I was just having a chat there with a local who is on a community group that looks after these meadows. So I've just found out all these weeds I was talking about behind me. Let's spin this around. That's actually deliberate. They're trying to create a habitat for ground nesting birds, which is what I suspected. So anyway, it's nice to know that that's the way it is for a reason and not just due to, you know, carelessness. Well, this is interesting. Someone's had a campfire here. Maybe a load of kids or something. Actually, no, it's quite well constructed. You can see those little posts keeping those logs in, so this might be a community thing. There's a bit of litter there, which I will take home and throw in the bin. The local scout hut is just over there, so maybe this is something to do with them. Plenty of nettles around here. I must gather some and try making nettle soup, which by all accounts is very nice. We're getting closer into town now. There you can see the spires of the cathedral again and the Victoria footbridge. Let's get a bit closer. The river level's very low here, as I mentioned, which means we've got all of this lovely kind of pebble beach right in the heart of the city centre. Right, let's get on to the Victoria footbridge. Not sure when this was built, but during the reign of Victoria seems like a safe guess. Now, as you can see, the river's quite a long way below us, but when we had our record floods here about 5 years ago, you couldn't actually get onto this bridge. It was only this middle section of the bridge that was actually above water. I'll see if I can find some footage of this. I recorded some video of just how high up the water got. So up to about there, I think. So if I'd been standing here during the floods, I'd have been thigh deep in water. Anyway, that is pretty much the end of my walk. There's still 5 minutes to go to get home, but that's just along streets surrounded by houses, so I won't bother recording it. So that's the end of my lazy video, which is a bit of an experiment. If you enjoyed the video, let me know. Is it worth making these? If I'm heading out somewhere, just grab a camera, no planning, no packing equipment, just grab this little thing and a selfie stick and yak away. Anyway, if you're with me so far, thanks for watching, and more videos coming along very soon.